Oh!
Sorry, Stuart Copeland. I know. But this is, again...
Two icons that arguably define Sony's venture into video games, but only one can move on. Today, Jim Caddick, Barry Kramer, Gerard Khalil, and Shane Gill join me, Forrest Lee, as we decide which of these PlayStation mascots we'll see in the semifinals. It's Crash Bandicoot 2 versus Spyro the Dragon, and this is Madness.
Welcome back to Season 3 of Madness on PlayStation 1 Games. Today we're talking about two titans of the platforming genre on this console. It's Crash 2 and Spyro the Dragon.
Oh,
that
God.
it is.
This is completely my childhood, my nostalgia. This is the hardest one for me. Although saying that, maybe it's not as hard as I think it is. Crash 2's better.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Crash 2's better.
Why do you feel that way?
Why I feel that way is because Spyro 1 lays a good foundation. I think you might have touched this on your completionist video. It lays a good, solid foundation, but the later games are so much better. They completely blow the first one out the water, and then, in the same vein, Crash 2 blows the first Crash out the water. So...
It is weird that it's Crash 2 versus Spyro 1 and not...
Yeah, if it was Spyro 2 versus Crash 2, that'd be way harder.
Just to add context, we did the online Twitter poll, and we decided that we didn't want a bracket full of 6 Crash and Spyro games.
Oh, so it's the highest rated of...
Yeah, so we took the
So
highest
the original
voted.
Spyro is the highest rated out of... Not even Spyro 2 was higher than...
Nope.
And Crash 2 got more votes than Crash 3.
That doesn't surprise me. Loads of people love Crash 2. I prefer 3 myself, but yeah, no,
Same.
that's interesting though. I think there's one thing that they both share in common though, and that's shit boss battles.
Yeah.
The boss battles in both of those games are fucking dreadful.
I can't even remember a boss in Spyro.
There you go.
It's the boss that I said was like 4 polygons.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Shemp
The-
is
the-
in
the- yeah,
Spyro.
The scarecrow, and then you like knock its mask off, and it's a sheep.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean,
Is that a boss?
it's a cute joke, but it's also a boss in the video game.
Dude, that jack-lantern was terrifying. I don't know what you're talking about.
And then there's...
boss? I thought that was
And then
just
there's...
I thought it was
That was
just
a boss. Yeah.
Oh.
I think the closest thing
With
to
a lot of not a lot of
yeah, and
fanfare.
even the nasty Nork, you chase him around in circles, and he doesn't even attack you. Does he attack you? I don't even think he does. Does he like fire magic at you once every 10 minutes? No, Crash 2 bosses are a little bit better, but they're both still pretty terrible. So that's
What about the music?
Crash 2's better.
Oh!
Sorry, Stuart Copeland. I know. But this is, again, and I'll tell you why, because Spyro 2 and 3 soundtrack are incredible. Spyro 3's soundtrack is, oh my god, some of the best PS1 music out there. Again, it's solid foundations. It's
You are
like...
wrong, sir.
I don't
you
know-
are incorrect in your opinion.
Sorry, Rocket and Pack Attack in Crash 2 are
very-
unbelievable.
Stuart
Go
Copeland
on.
is a genius.
He
and
is,
Spyro's
I'm not-
soundtrack is phenomenal.
And
again, this is coming from a place of zero nostalgia. I didn't play either of these games as a kid besides, like, sparingly
you know,
at friends'
I'm not
houses.
saying it's bad, but I think that Spyro 2's and 3's soundtrack
To me, Crash's
are
soundtrack
way better.
is serviceable.
So I think,
Wow.
I think we have a bit of a identity problem here in this debate, and the problem is, I think going forward, let's remove sequels and pre-sequels from the equation.
Okay.
We cannot compare Crash 2 to Crash 3 or Crash 1.
No, okay.
We can't
all right.
compare Crash 2 to Spyro 2 and Spyro 3. We have to just compare the lines of Crash 2 and Spyro,
Okay.
or else we're just going to get caught going in circles. And
I don't know if I agree that we should do that.
Well, yeah, 'cause how-
I feel like both of these trilogies on this console, they blur together to the point where, like,
right, but
So-
then if that's the case, then we should be debating the
Crash
Crash
versus
trilogy
Spyro,
versus the
yeah.
Spyro
No, he's
trilogy,
right, he's right, yeah.
and have that be the best of madness, as opposed to the specific choices of Crash 2 and Crash 1 and Spyro 1. Because I think that's.
But then,
I see what you mean,
that gets
but-
unfair because then you're gonna have Final Fantasy VII versus
Yeah.
a trilogy.
But
of
no,
games.
this is the thing though, because
Right.
people,
You
because
know.
the general public have voted Spyro 1 to be the most popular out of all of them. But I personally think that the third one is, and if it was 3 against 2, I would have picked 3. But now, I think you can use it as a comparison to at
Right,
least.
I'm just saying, like, we're here to talk about
Oh,
Just a
Spyro-
reminder,
Spyro 1 versus Crash
Well, then
2,
Crash
2.
not
Yeah.
not the franchises or what's better or worse in
Okay,
between.
well, Crash
Just what's
2,
in
then.
that game.
I
Right.
think Spyro 1 has better controls than Crash 2.
I agree.
Really?
I agree.
We were playing Crash 2 on stream. Crash you press sideways, you either move a tiny bit or you move too much.
The momentum is super whack. It's unreliable.
I have never ever had that problem.
And some of the hitboxes is a little weird. We have to like jump across like turtle shells and stuff, and you're just like, oh god,
okay,
oh god.
The only time
it doesn't feel like you're in control.
The only thing I had, and it's a very specific problem. The only thing with Crash 2 I don't like is if you're on ice and you keep your momentum going and you hit a wall. If you jump, even though you've stopped, the momentum carries you over the box.
Oh, that's like a weird.
That's
forgot to cancel the momentum.
Exactly. Yeah,
but the flip side of that.
But that's the only thing that I can. I think it's
the flip
tight.
side of that is the slide animation it brings you to a stop. You don't slide and then keep running. You slide and then then you can keep moving. Again. And it feels really weird. Whereas Spyro, like, it's not the tightest controls. It's kind of loose.
It is loose. I like the loose feeling, though.
But you're able to pick a direction and go, especially when you're kind of heading in a direction. If you're trying to turn around, the camera just falls apart.
Well, if we're talking, I mean, I think for the case of Caddy and I could say confidently that a lot of the reason why we think it's tight is because we've played Spyro 2 and Spyro 1 dozens and dozens and dozens of times.
This is why we were saying. I think
so
you
when
have
you
to,
say you have problems with the hitboxes, I scoff and go, no, you're wrong. But that's only because my own skill and gaming prowess and years of playing that game has eliminated all the kinks. So like, you are right in saying that yes, Crash 2 does have some weird hitboxes and platforming, whereas I don't experience that. I'm sure he does.
You've already mentally compensated for it.
Absolutely.
But I'm coming to it for the first time going, I want to run and then jump, and I've fallen off.
You're talking about that, but then I find with Spyro, especially if you're not using analog control, he does that weird skippy thing before he goes and starts moving, and he does that in the other games, but in the other games it's way smoother. But in the original, he's kind of like,
it's not perfect, but I just prefer it, and it doesn't require as much, at least from the early levels that we played the other day.
Yeah.
It didn't require as much dexterity.
Oh no, but when you get to the later parts, then it's like, that's when it becomes a bit of a,
But also we only compared it to the early Crash levels as well. So that's what I'm going off of. And very early in Crash, it's like box to box, you're jumping, and Spyro, it's like, here's an area to explore.
Yeah.
And it used to be so beautiful.
I'm sure it was.
Okay.
I think the level design overall is better in Crash 2. And people are going to say, "Oh, it's just a hallway. It's just a hallway." I don't think
it's just sometimes a branching hallway.
Well,
Super Mario Bros. Freeze just a hallway then.
Yeah,
right,
that's what I mean. Exactly.
Well, Crash is more like an old school platform.
I think
like a little secret area off to the side.
The difference is, do you want to look for giant worlds that you want to explore, or do you want tight? Everything's there for a reason. Linear platforming challenges.
Yeah, I think
it's Mario versus.
I want
Banjo-Kazooie. You know, it's like
I want tight linear platforming sections when the controls are good.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'd rather have tight linear progression and that than an open world that just has a bunch of openness in it and nothing there.
Spyro 1 is very open.
Spyro has a lot of levels where it's like
nothing.
There's a whole bunch of open field here, and there's no collectibles or enemies to be found, or there might be a couple, but they're very far and few between.
You're not wrong.
I kind of prefer that, but I know we're not comparing it to the N64 games, but it was such a pain in the ass to collect all this stuff on N64 platformers, and I kind of like that Spyro cut the bullshit. And
it does trim it back, yeah. But
it's still to collect a lot, but it's not a collectathon to the same extent as a lot of N64 platforms.
I disagree.
No.
Spyro is very much more
you got
than the
gems
collectathon
and
genre.
you got dragons.
Right, but the thing is that
it's not Donkey Kong 64.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's not Donkey Kong 64.
I'm not referring to the amount of collectibles so much as I'm referring to the number of the actual collectibles in the game.
Oh yeah.
Level 1, 100 gems, a couple of dragons. Great. Level 2, couple hundred gems, couple dragons. By the end of the game, you're talking levels that have anywhere from 5 to 800 gems and about 10 to 30 dragons.
I did not know this.
So while the collectibles, like that makes it, that is the essence of what a collectathon is. So while you may not be getting as many as you would in, let's say, DK64, Banjo-Kazooie, the number goes up as you progress.
Right.
And then it just makes the levels that are supposed to be bigger and more open world just have more to do.
And then with Crash, you can play the game normally and grab the crystals and beat the game, or you can do the kind of collectathon thing and find all the boxes and break all the boxes and get a gem.
But to get back to your point about the level design, I agree that Spyro has a very kind of unfocused feel. It doesn't really guide you in a certain direction. But
I think that's fine.
It has one of the best draw distances for that era on the PS1.
It's ingenious.
So even though it's like, here's a field, you kind of see where you can go next.
Yeah.
Whereas with Crash's level design, they kind of purposely hid what's coming up next, just so they didn't have to worry about the
but then because of that, they added way more detail into Crash, and it makes it pretty.
It is a very detailed game.
I think it's pretty.
And Spyro doesn't really have a lot of textures. It's just kind of.
And honestly, I think that Crash has more character. Just generally, I think that
I'd agree with that.
I think the muteness of Crash, the facial expressions, the death.
Even the enemies have more going on than
there's
than a lot of Spyro's enemies.
there's just more like little there's more animations, there's death things that can go on with Spyro.
There's a lot of different death animations.
And then with Spyro, you get "Where's Nasty York?" and it's like, oh.
Good show, Crash.
Yeah, I think character is the right way. The game has. I feel like Crash 2 has a lot more life breathed into it.
Yeah.
Where it's a lot more focused and centralized versus the openness of Spyro. While it is great, it does lack an overall focus that I think ends up kind of padding the game out as the game goes on. When you get to the end of the game, it's like almost, and this is coming from a guy who completes games, completing Spyro is a part of the aspect of playing the game. Because that is the essence of it.
To unlock new levels, you have to collect stuff. It's not good enough to just go into a level and get
Correct.
it.
And you can do the bare minimum like you can in Banjo or even in Crash. You don't have to.
Even the bare minimum is more than just
what's expected. Absolutely. And so in that regard, I think Crash in Crash 2, if you're trying to complete it, it has like secret levels you can find, different warp areas,
which are very creative.
They're very creative, and I don't know. It just.
And normally I would agree with you because I tend to drift towards games that have more focus, have more clarity in what their purpose is. I just come back to the controls that I felt like it wasn't even just the controls, it's also Crash's camera changes a lot on you. It shifts from more behind his back to side scrolling to kind of like a 3/4 angled kind of thing.
You feel like you kind of got your bearing of the controls.
Yeah, I know. And I feel like each version of that camera has different issues with your control over Crash.
Something I wanted to actually bring up with that was you two saying that you're so used to the controls at this point that it's
I guess.
It's not really a problem, but you're used to controls that have flaws. That doesn't make the flaws not.
No, but then I've played both of these games. I know I talk about Crash a lot, but I have played Spyro and Crash equal amounts. They were my childhood games. I played both of them back to back.
I mean,
I don't understand how that makes the flaws in Crash's controls.
I don't think it has. I just
when you play Super Mario Bros. 1 for the first time and you don't hold the run button and you jump and you fail, you're like, oh man, the jumping's messed up, and you keep doing it over and over and over again. You keep making
not
that
messed
same
up. There's a mechanic you're not aware of.
Yeah,
exactly.
But what's the mechanic you're not aware of in Crash?
In Crash, well, for one, sliding and jumping is a mechanic they don't teach you in the game. When you slide
you have to slide into a jump, but the timing is
we're talking about issues of pressing side and it not giving you the correct amount of give when you press forward or side. Like you would move either a very small amount or you move a lot.
Like lining up a jump, you're just kind of like
jump to land
jumping
on
around.
a box. Going up, you have to you keep tapping it, and then Crash will clip against the box and keep falling off.
I never had that problem.
Like those boxes where there's two in between, you bounce up and forth between them. It's kind of awkward
we both
to navigate
had
into
the same
them.
problem.
You guys, you were just like, no. But it's not like that's a game-breaking issue. It just gives me an impression where it's like, it's a little rough around the edges.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I've never ever had that problem.
I think what in and I was there when you guys played it, and the issue you're describing, I feel like is the kind of thing of you don't have a lot of moments like that where you're missing. You don't miss when you're jumping in Crash. You don't miss platforms because you miss that hitbox most of the time. I feel like what we saw and experienced in that moment is one of maybe a few times where that is a thing, and that's why Caddy's like, "What are you talking about?" Because
I just don't.
Well, I brought it up personally because I didn't have any moment playing Crash where I was stopped in my tracks by something. It was I want to do this, okay, I'm going to do that. There's nothing stopping me. Okay, I want to do this, same thing. Whereas Crash, okay, I want to jump on this box.
Did you mean Spyro?
Yeah, do you mean Spyro?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So the first thing you were talking about Spyro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So with Crash, okay, I want to jump on this box. Oh, I can't. Oh wait, I'll press a bit more. Oh, I just jumped over the box. And it's not as precise.
And for me, it was an issue with okay, I'm trying to get across this gap. I need to jump near the very edge in order to make this jump because it's kind of snug on the timing, and I didn't know exactly where Crash's hitbox would, I kept jumping early because I'd be worried I was going to run off.
Here's a question.
And that's something that I could learn with time, absolutely. I'm not saying it's an insurmountable issue with that game. It's just an issue that I noticed, whereas Spyro, because it's a different game entirely, you just kind of run around, jump around, and breathe fire, and it's
to liken back to the Mario analogy, the way I see it,
it'd be like if the sprite was weirdly misshapen at the feet.
Sure. Well, it might, I don't know if this is actually true with any Mario game. It's like holding the jump button long enough to get more air, right? Like I think that to me is how I interpreted what you guys were talking about, because in Crash, it is one of those things like you would in Mario, where if you hold, the longer you hold your jump button, the higher you ascend. If you do short hops, you're not going to make it nearly as far. And I think did you know that about Crash when you played it, that if you had jumped, depending on how long you held the X button, it determines how far you go or the height of it?
I did not.
Exactly. So
Is that something that's in the manual, though?
when was the last time you read a PS1 manual for a game?
Never, because I never had a PS1. But I did read a lot of manuals when I was a kid.
Sure.
So if that was a game I had as a kid, I would have read the manual.
I've got another question, which is actually a big point to this. Did you guys play it with the analog stick?
No, they did the D-pad.
Played it with both. We had a.
I don't remember.
Because the original games, and I swear to God,
I think you have to play with the D-pad.
Even with the Insane trilogy, I always play with the D-pad. Those
think you
games
could
are
use the
built
analog
to
stick
be played with the
with
D-pad.
You can switch it over in the PS3 version, but
Yeah,
because it wasn't the PS3 version; it was like the emulated
PS1 to
Yeah.
PS3. Yeah.
Well, actually, so a better example for how I feel about it and you're gonna hate this, isn't Mario? It's Donkey Kong Country.
Okay.
Because the sprites in Donkey Kong Country are very detailed, but it's not clear where the hitboxes are.
I've had that problem.
Especially on
I
the
agree with that.
platforms.
Yeah.
You have occasionally issues where you're running and you mean to do a jump, and if you didn't do like a somersault or whatever, you jump late and you fall. And you die.
Like the sprite ends like here.
I think it's because
Right.
it's because
Yeah,
the sprite stretches, doesn't it? So you don't know where it starts.
So
and
it's that kind of issue, but in 3D for me, where it's like it's not something you can't learn, and most of us learn with a game like Donkey Kong Country. You're like, okay, I failed enough times, now I've learned.
Yeah.
I didn't have enough time.
That Spyro, that issue wasn't in Spyro.
The precise platforming aspects in Spyro 1 are not as refined as something.
It's
like
basically
Crash Bandicoot 2,
you start
the character is not meant to like. You guys saw me in the when we played. I was like trying to run and jump and get to that area and glide. Like that's actually how you were supposed to do it. But given how the game tries to challenge itself as it progresses, it's not as tight as it could be in some certain areas. And
it's not tight at all.
They fixed that in Spyro 2 and 3. But again, we're not talking about.
I know. I'm just saying that like some of the jumps that you make
That's
in Spyro.
a reason why he's not happy with Spyro.
Gotcha.
But no, it's like if you play like levels like I don't know, example the trees, which is most people's hated Spyro level.
You have to like run down a huge tree and leap and fly.
Yeah, and then you leap and fly to another speed pad, but then you have to go backwards up another one.
Oh, that sounds awful.
With some of those jumps, if you were like a little millisecond off, if you could just hover just to get yourself over there, if you mess up a glide, that's it. You fall. That's it. You can't do anything about it.
I think what you're getting at, and to wrap it up in a nice little bow, is that both games suffer from the same issue of not as precise controls as they could be.
True.
Spyro is not a platforming game in the sense that as Crash is, right? Crash is you jump on boxes, jump over gaps, jump on enemies. Spyro is more like a grounded thing where you're killing guys with flame, and every now and then there is platforming, and the platforming sections that are in the game are not as refined as they could be.
Right. But it's an issue that doesn't hamper Spyro as much because it doesn't rely on its platforming to the same
As you
extent.
get to the end of the game, it does.
It does, yeah. There's bottomless pits everywhere at the last 2 or 3 worlds.
In most cases, games teach you how to progress and get better in terms of how to jump and platform over things. Spyro lacks that finesse.
In fact, I think I've seen the game over screen in Spyro 1 more than any other Crash or even Crash 1.
We're gonna have to start wrapping up, guys.
Oh dear.
Any final points you want to throw out onto the table?
I feel like overall we got hung up on a few things and never really dived as to what made both games great. But based on the argument that we did have today,
yes,
I feel like I'm in the middle still because I don't really know what we discussed that was finessed enough.
Yeah.
And again,
that's interesting because I'd argue this was one of the more finessed discussions we've had on this entire program.
Yeah,
because we were getting into the minutia of this platform is like this. Well, I don't know. Well, if you do this, that happens.
It's because it's the PS1's biggest mascot platform. Is you need to be sensitive with it.
Any last thoughts?
Well, I don't think I had much to say this round besides the issues I had with the controls. I think both of them have nice worlds that are fleshed out. They have interesting characters. Both obviously have mascots that people are very fond of.
Well,
good?
I'm just kind of... So I was remembering that Spyro has the little dragonfly friend that picks up gems.
Yeah.
Was it Sparks?
Sparks, yeah.
That's clever. So Sparks picks up gems that are nearby.
And when he's not there, he doesn't.
Well, yeah, because when you get hurt, he goes away. But
that makes the game unplayable, actually.
But
Try picking up the gems without
But
sparks.
that's the thing is, like, Spyro doesn't have great controls, but there's a built-in mechanism to make that a non-issue. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You know, because it's a good thing that, as long as you don't get hit, you're fine, but it's a band-aid for an issue with the controls.
I think it is actually quite smart because it'll bring up the question of, oh wait, why aren't I like picking up those gems anymore? Oh, it's the dragonfly. What is the dragonfly there? Oh, that's also my health. It just like sort of leans in and brings awareness to the fact that you do have a dragonfly following you.
But then now that you do have to vote,
who
would it be?
Spyro.
All right. Anyone else ready with the?
Well, I said Crash, so that's where I am.
All right.
And that was purely based on the controls.
I am also going to go Spyro. Because it's based off of the parts of each game I played, which again is not a full comprehensive picture, and maybe I would change my mind if I played through all of them, but I just feel like, from what I played, like, it's frustrating because I would normally pick a game like Crash over a game like Spyro. I tend to like really focused, tight games. I just don't think Crash is that focused or tight. I mean, it's pretty focused.
Going back and playing Crash, like, kind of detracted from my memories of Crash. I was like, this is
Freudian slip right there.
Of Crash, it was like, oh, Crash isn't as good as I remember it being.
I think I'm gonna say Crash too. I think it's there's no fluff. It's focused. It's good platforming.
This is the most split ass panel I've ever had.
We're even talking about the iconicness of the mascot wars itself. I think Crash Bandicoot is more recognizable than Spyro.
I'd agree with you there.
Undoubtedly, yeah.
And
you have like 3 Crash things here.
and one Spyro shirt.
One of them.
I think I'm gonna have to go with Spyro.
Oh. Deary me.
Look, I'm. Don't look at me. You guys know I'm doing my best out here. We're out here doing what we can.
No.
From what I remember, Spyro 2 is way better than Spyro 1.
It is. It just
win twice as much.
And then 3 is better than 2, in my opinion, anyway. But yeah.
It was not a fair fight from the beginning. But
no, it wasn't. But there you go. There's the
Madness.
definitive.
It's
It's madness trademark.
Who do you think should have won this round? Let us know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like and subscribe for more episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. Also, we're still hosting a contest to win a PS4 Pro and PlayStation Classic, so go check it out.